But you never know what has
Yeah,
come up.
sure. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, March 14th, and this is the Equity Committee meeting. And I'm just going to hand it over to Carla and let her take us away.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. McKittrick. We do have minutes that I think our board members would need to review and approve.
I would move to accept the minutes from February 14th.
Second that.
Right. So I want to start with an overview of the work that we've been doing thus far in the district, and I want to start with what is actually going to take place tomorrow. You heard me mention yesterday that our team would be meeting tomorrow. And so this is number 6 of our meeting, and just wanted to run through for about 5 minutes what we're going to focus on. And tomorrow's focus is going to be on the culturally responsive, sustaining educator framework, and starting to pull all of the pieces together on the portrait of a culturally responsive educator, staff, and district. So we're moving in the right direction in that way. And in just a little bit, you're going to hear from Adam Motter about the work that he is doing in social studies as it relates to our CRSE framework, and he is a front runner in this work. He's an early adopter, he's an ally, he has been in the trenches with me from day one, really working to understand how to improve his practices. So that being said, I just want to shout out Adam some.
Let's not leave out.
Okay.
Let's not leave out that he's leading for the educators the Sojourner Truth process that's taking place for our dedication on the statue. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes, he's a rock star in this work. This is the link that you couldn't see yesterday, or I think Mr. Perry could see it.
I clicked on it, yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was the weirdest thing. So this isn't what it will look like in its final form, but if you had a chance to look at it, it's in draft. It won't say the sessions by the dates that you see there. It may say something like level 1 resources, and it will give them a number of options that they can then use to support work in their buildings. So it will go to a final designer type person to, I guess, make it pretty. But
Pretty like it is to me.
I liked it too, but I guess there's some functionality issues when it goes to a live website. But when you think about the curation of all of the resources that are here and the work that Wilma's doing behind the scenes with our facilitators to ensure that everything gets into the portal in the right places, under the right titles and topics, and that it's evidence-based and research-based and all of those things. So we're proud of it and happy to have some help. Wilma, did you want to say something else about this resource?
I just think that it's a nice addition to what we've been working on all year, and that I think it's user-friendly so that people can click on and see the headings and go to the topics that they want, that they're interested in. And I think that it's going to be a huge resource for us.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question, Carla?
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to click on all the links that I saw on the page, but if I do click, does it take me to a page and it has a news
It
story
does.
of some sort? Okay.
It'll either have a resource that is editable that
Okay.
you can use, something you can copy, or something you can read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely click on it
Yeah.
and explore it for sure.
Yeah, play around with that. Just don't share it with anyone yet, because the person that shared it with me made me promise that, I wouldn't
it
tell
goes live.
anybody yet, because it's not ready.
it goes live.
Until
I
it
get it.
goes
Yep, I
live,
got it.
it is definitely in
I was
draft
just curious
form.
how it was set up because I saw the different clickable links. I didn't click anything though. So I was just curious.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be user-friendly in its final form, and we're well on our way. But a lot of work goes into putting something like that together. So I want to shout out Wilma for her help in that space. I mentioned yesterday that I am a member of a national network of chief equity officers, folks who are diversity officers in public school districts around the country. And it has proven to be a very valuable network. In fact, most of what I get there, I bring back to Akron, or I am sharing what we're doing in Akron for them to take where they are in their districts as well. And so I just gave you a one-pager on what they are. Most recently, 2 weeks ago, they shared some talking points that districts can use as they encounter individuals in the community. And so I wanted to share this with you as an information resource for you to share or to use in your travels throughout the community. Mark Williamson Communications also has his eyes on this to ensure that we have a comprehensive way of addressing any questions that we might have about the equity work that we're doing. But I thought this was a really, really helpful piece to have with some really strong talking points about just doing the work in our districts around improving equitable outcomes for students, which folks sometimes confuse with critical race theory, which it is not. But yeah, wanted to show you that. And anytime, if you have some questions, just, stop me. I'll keep rolling along. The other piece, which I shared with you, and you see it here in front on the screen, is the Teacher Quality and Diversity Resource Guidebook, which is chock full of great information. That is a QR code that you can use, or you can reach it by that website. Would love for you to, just kind of put your eyes on that and get a feel for the types of resources that we're bringing back to our district. And then wanted to report out on, I guess, what was 2 weeks ago, Wilma, some phenomenal, and Adam, employee resource group events. And so you have them there. Akron Educators for Social Justice, which Adam is a part of as one of our leaders of that network group, had an awesome networking event at Marcus's restaurant where about 15 folks turned out. Very nice. Adam, you want to say some more about that?
Well, their food is fantastic.
I've never been there, but I got.
Oh, you gotta go.
I've never been.
You gotta go.
Right on,
Yeah.
Like Goodyear.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I passed by it 1,000 times. Just never been.
But just it was an opportunity. The group has invited APS employees to various functions for about a year now. One of our first ones was last June at the Historical Society, Juneteenth celebration. This one was a meet and greet. So people came. Carla was able to get us, we got some chicken, and it was fantastic. Small group. We got just time to share, discuss. There were some community members there as well. So it's another way for our employees all of us as educators to connect with people in the community in a fun and exciting space. So it was really cool. So we're actually quite honored to grow this group and be a part of it and be around others that want to share experiences and growth around social justice.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the work that the ERGs are doing and the leaders of the two groups that are moving along. APS Pride has been around for a few years now and really kind of rocking and rolling and very strong. And then these two are forming and storming, so coming along. The other ERG is called the New and Existing Employees United, and they're all about helping new APS employees find a social network. And these are employees between 1 and 3 years of service.
I keep forgetting it. I attended that one, and we had a nice turnout. I think we had close to 20 people that showed up for that one, and played a few games, icebreakers, to get to know one another. And it was amazing how they welcomed learning more about our district, learning more about what each other did in their buildings, and just coming together and having that safe space to talk about things that are working well for them and things that they may need to have some support in. But I think it worked. The message was working together, and I think that message was thoroughly throughout that room that day.
That's good to hear, because Saturday we talked about our highest turnover rates are folks from between 1 and 5 years. Mm-hmm. So the better connections we can make with them and the more connected they feel to the district, then hopefully the better the chance that they'll stick around.
Yeah, employee resource groups are a solid recruitment and retention strategy. Mm-hmm. I mean, just a solid strategy, creating that sense of belonging and connectedness among staff. So I'm hoping that these take hold and really grow and help us with our inclusion work. There isn't anything that I do that isn't connected to DEIAB. I'm adding the AB. I'm trying to remember to say that. But yeah, I'm really proud of the work that folks who are taking ownership of this, that they're doing. I'm just a supporter. It is their work. I step out of it and let it be and find ways to help as they see fit. So,
Are there other upcoming events on these two, please?
Adam, I haven't talked to you guys lately about what's next, but I do have some feedback there for you about some suggestions that were made a couple weeks ago.
I know for the social justice group, there are some events coming up. We're trying to better connect with the Sojourner Truth Project, Akron. And there's a couple other ones, too, that are in the pipeline. But, yes, the idea is to have an event to invite people to monthly as we get going.
Oh, nice. I'll look forward to that then, for sure.
Yeah, we'll be sure to get the invites out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know what was exciting about NEU, the NEEU, Wilma, I was told that 8 to 10 people, I think, said they want to be a part of the steering committee on that ERG to help move that work forward. So that was exciting, that they didn't just hold a social, but they also recruited supporters. So that was good.
That's when you know they have buy-in, right? When they want to bring other folks along, so that's good.
Yep, make it their own. So, Wilma, we kind of introduced Adam already. Anything you want to say to lead into Adam's presentation?
Just that I know that what he's about to speak. What he's about to speak about, he really put his all into it, and had the right people at the tables. Produced the meetings monthly, sometimes weekly if he had to. But making sure that he dotted every I, crossed every T, spoke with educators thoroughly, making sure that they were, because they're the ones that's going to be working with our students with it, and I know he put his all into this. And just being there at the meetings with him and watching him take the lead on that was just, it was a tremendous taking. You know, he did a lot with this, and I think that he deserves the credit for all of that he's done and continues to do. So, yes.
Thanks, Wilma. Wilma's a member of our adoption steering team. So this is the oversight team that takes the teacher recommendations and then advances those recommendations to the superintendent. Then it will come to you as a board, and that's actually coming up pretty quick. So I wanted to speak to a few things, but first I wanted to thank you for having me today. Mrs. McKittrick and Mr. Perry, I believe I last spoke to you with Dr. Caver over the summer. And to refresh your memory, it was in the realm of, hey, you've got this social studies adoption coming up. What are the parameters and the systems you're putting in place to move this curriculum forward based on the board policies around culturally responsive curriculum and instruction? And so we got a chance to overview that together, and today is an opportunity to update you on our progress. And we're going to look at it through two different ways. Carla told me I have 20 minutes. And when Carla, whatever Carla says is what I do.
Much time as you like. I'm looking at the clock here.
Okay, and so we're going to look at it two different ways. One way is the graphic on the screen that you see, where you're going to see 4 different blocks, looking at culturally responsive curriculum through an environmental lens, an instructional lens, actual curriculum lens, and professional development and support lens. And then we'll also look at it again through the lens of organizing it by board policy, okay? And my hope is that you'll see examples of progress through both of those lenses. The first one, Carla, if you could click on the goals of social studies and in the environment box, and if you will indulge me for a moment, I shared this with you last time with Dr. Caver when we spoke in maybe July or August. And up on the screen, you see the definition of social studies through our Ohio Department of Education, as well as the National Council for the Social Studies. And I know I sound like a broken record. Wilma has heard this now like 5 times. And the teachers tell me I sound like a broken record. But we've gotten away from our North Star. And this is our North Star. And in this new adoption and with our new culturally responsive curriculum and practices, we want every teacher to have an elevator speech on what is the goal of social studies. My elevator speech is that students are independent thinkers. We don't teach students what to think. We teach them how to think about a challenge or an issue in our community or our world today, to gather vetted resources, vetted information from multiple perspectives, come up with their own conclusions, be able to defend those conclusions using civil discourse. And we need our students to do this because we want them to be successful citizens in our community. And in our modern democracy, that is what is absolutely required. So I call this our North Star, and we start our trainings with this. We also start our trainings with our equity, our commitment to excellence and equity. We also start our trainings with our board policy as well. But as you look at this, and as I gave you that elevator speech, as we align our work to culturally relevant curriculum and instruction, what that means is ensuring that the DEI focus in our board policy, inquiry learning, teaching through multiple perspectives. Another way of saying that is we don't just teach history, we teach histories. And that's sort of a new term for old social studies dogs like myself. And also to be able to engage in having our students have the space to learn about controversial issues, sometimes called unsettled issues. Sometimes they're just current events. So those, with what we know as the vision of social studies, and with those 4 priorities, since I last met you, our steering team for our adoption came together, reviewed this mission, reviewed those priorities, and reviewed an evaluation instrument that our teachers used that reflect those 4 priorities. So a highly aligned evaluation instrument for our teachers to analyze and review our new curriculum. Carla, if you could go back to the slideshow. That is an update, and that is a part of the environment and climate and culture that we are changing in social studies. The next one, well, how are we teaching it? There are a number of things that are new that we are embedding directly in the curriculum. And I listed a few examples for you, and we're going to pick one from this list. And this is audience participation time. So Mrs. McKittrick, would you like to look at the QFT, Dr. Judy Pace's controversial issues framework, or Dr. King's framework on historical examination of historical practices?
Let's look at controversial issues.
Okay, so Carla, if you'll click on Judy Pace's overview, what you see in front of you is a brand new framework. Dr. Judy Pace out of the University of San Francisco is our country's leading expert on teaching controversial issues. She also calls them issues in society that are unsettled. And in recent memory, think about mask mandates, think about vaccines, think about a school classroom, a social studies classroom, as an incubator where students can learn about and have a safe voice to understand and communicate these challenges in our society. She has 8 focus areas in her framework. We won't go through the whole thing, but I would want to take you to one of them. And the one is think through the teacher stance. In her framework, she says the number one job of the teacher is to do no harm for any student. So the teacher themselves, they need to think through, where am I at? How comfortable am I? What kind of relationship do I have with my students? What is the culture and environment of the classroom and the school that I teach in? And take all those things into account before guiding students through multiple perspectives in an unsettled or controversial issue. These are things, for example, in our new curriculum that we are now doing intentionally. And the work is complex, it's hard. We've just started the work. Teachers, we've had some PD on it. We did some summer work after I talked to you. We brought teachers together, teacher leaders. We got more teachers understanding and connecting with the work on our adoption teams. And then further, as we roll out the new adoption, teachers will get more training and more support around it. The work is adaptive work. Not everybody's on the same page at the same day, at the same time, as you know. I think Ms. Carla said it last night when she said, it's not always a straight line. It's sometimes you zig and sometimes you zag. And that's very true for this type of work. So thank you for that. That's an example in the how we're delivering instruction differently in social studies, and going to be building that type of capacity to deliver instruction differently. If you go back to the slideshow, we'll go to the third one. And let's see, I didn't really pick one out for this. I really think we should continue with our audience participation theme and ask Mr. Perry if he'd like to pick one out from the curriculum.
Well, I am
box.
passionate about Sojourner Truth, so I'm going to go with that.
Oh, good one. Good one. So May 30th, 1851, one block from where we're sitting, Truth gave her famous speech, colloquially known as "And Ain't I a Woman Too" speech, which, by the way, she, the version that most of us, an old dog like me, learned was actually not the correct version of the speech. But she was a trendsetter far ahead of her time and made history right here in our own community. And frankly, there's a tremendous renewed interest, not just because of the statue in the plaza, but because of Truth's message and how it's resonating in the times we are in. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a national monument. Yeah. This is an example of our participation in the larger project. And Tawanda Mullins, also a Garfield graduate, and Margaret Maurer spoke to this board maybe a couple months ago about the project. As our participation in the project helps support their educational efforts, this is for everyone in Summit County, but for our teachers, curated, detailed instructional plans and resources to help support the teaching of the message itself. But wait, there's a lot more beyond this that's not included in this link. And I'll circle back to Sojourner Truth in a minute when we get to your board document. Okay. So if you could go to the fourth column. The last one is professional development support, which is in this highly adaptive work is really important. It's ongoing. Our teachers, by the way, our social studies staff, they've heard me say this for a long time, that we are the tip of the spear, and we are honored to do so. We want to be first with innovative ideas that help support kids learn. And this is no different. Just this Friday before last, we had a group out of Chicago. They're called the Mikvah Challenge, and you may be familiar with them because you may have participated in your other life in the Akron community's citywide event called On the Table a few years ago. Yeah. Mikvah Challenge is the actual author. They're the designer and creator of that community event. And they do lots of things like that. We had them in with all 6 through 12 social studies teachers the Friday before last. And it was around having courageous conversations around race with your students. Mm-hmm. They helped walk our teachers through basic ideas. It was only a 2-hour orientation, so there's a lot more work to be done. However, these are the types of professional development that we're leaning into and engaging with to support their capacity to develop and build relationships with kids and have those meaningful conversations that don't go sideways. So hard adaptive stuff, but our teachers are leaning into it, and as a department, as a social studies department, we're organizing the structures and systems in place to make sure that all our teachers are successful. So that's kind of an overview of the different sort of types of ways you might see culturally responsive social studies. But there is a little link down there at the bottom, and this is actually for our planning purposes. How are we ensuring that the board policy is being addressed? And I'm just going to pause for a moment and pass over this document for Dr. Hall. And on the left, you actually get to see the actual board policy. And on the right, you kind of see a running list of things that we're doing. Mrs. McKittrick and Mr. Perry, since we last talked, obviously we're much further along in the adoption. When I had the opportunity and honor to speak to you in August, we were just getting teams together. We were just starting that process. Since then, we've used the aforementioned evaluation instrument that's aligned to our district goals. And the teachers have selected, the steering committee has approved, so you'll be seeing this soon. Further, some further updates for you. One of the things that didn't show up on the slideshow real well is what kind of tasks are the students doing? We should see evidence of the types of tasks that support cultural relevancy, cultural growth, or in the curriculum, right? So Carla, if you can scroll down on this document, I think it's maybe the last box. It's able to start adding, yeah, maybe keep going. Yeah, maybe there, yeah, that's probably good. You'll get to see some additional pieces. And Mr. Perry, there is where you'll see, in addition to resources and so forth for teachers on the Sojourner Truth Project, we actually last spring did a field test at NIF STEM for an inquiry project. The students' task was to let the committee know what people should see and what the statue should look like and so forth if as the designers were building it. Of course, that's all done now. So it's moved from a sort of a pilot in 22 to a field test this year. Our middle school teachers are the ones that are taking this on in 8th grade are field testing an actual inquiry with their students this spring. Our students are becoming truth tellers. And, what does truth's message mean to you? How does it impact your community today? Become a truth teller. And then, of course, full implementation will come next year in the spring. Hopefully, by the way, this statue will be up later this year in 2023. But it most likely will not be up before the kids leave for the summer. But that's a great example of actual task, actual supports where we're building equity in our curriculum. I should also tell you, and I hope this isn't the first time, but if it is, I can't wait to see the smile on your face. We are actually part of the pilot program for the AP African American History course next year. We will be piloting it at Firestone and at Bookdale. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's in the news all the time. This is a outstanding course that allows for students to learn African American history on a highly sophisticated academic level. And one of the things I'm most excited about is we have our students that will be able to be in this course and see themselves taking academically rigorous college level work and see themselves in college. It's very exciting.
Yeah. What schools will that be at again? Is it
Firestone and Bookdale.
And Bookdale, okay.
And
Awesome.
Do we have insight yet as to what the curriculum is? You need your mic. Do we have insight yet into what the curriculum is going to be for that AP African American course?
College Board just last week gave us a 7 p.m. webinar in which they did provide an overview of, and as you may know, there's been some recent changes to the curriculum. So we got an overview look at, nothing yet in hard copy, but it is as described. And one of the more amazing pieces about the curriculum is it doesn't role the traditional way. And the traditional way, pre-colonial, slavery, Reconstruction, civil rights movement, that's it. Apparently everything was fixed in 1965, and it's all good. It goes all the way through with leading scholars, and it really does get back to the goal and vision. I know I sound like a broken record. The goal and vision of social studies is to look at challenges and issues in our world, vet multiple sources from multiple perspectives, analyze those sources, develop a conclusion, be able to understand and defend that conclusion, and then exchange and communicate with civil discourse. And so it's an exciting opportunity.
No, I think that's fantastic. I think the other question I had is when we do have some more insight, I'd love to see what amounts to sort of the course bibliography, if you will, right? Because one of the things that does get attention is the degree to which we teach utilizing original sources, especially in African American types of courses, right? And so, because I know that, I guess I'm an old person now, but I know what I learned in school, and I was in the Upper Bound program, right, which is very Afrocentric, right? I had a chance to read James Weldon Johnson and W.E.B. Du Bois and things like that. But those are things that when I learned history in Akron public schools during that same time period, those were source materials that I was not exposed to, and there are other things that really gave more, really drove home in a more graphic way. Just exactly what happened as a part of our history in this country. And so that's where I know that there's someone who would argue that some of that is not high school appropriate. It's sort of what the argument that I've heard get made before. And that's why I kind of wonder, as we continue to evolve forward in education, period, right? But especially as we're teaching something that's an AP African American course, right? Are we, in your opinions, right? I mean, are we being courageous in the things that we're teaching, right? Are we seeking to expose folks to original sources that can't quite frankly are heartbreaking? But I think but those are the kinds of lessons that our young people need to be made aware of. That these are things that actually happened, because and again, I don't want to take too much time in our meeting, but I remember being disappointed in how we talked about African American history when I was a kid going through APS, for example, right? The things that got glossed over, and again, I credit being in a program like Upward Bound that was very Afrocentric. That was the only time I had ever had any exposure to what was being taught, what I thought was actually African American literature and African American history, right? So I'm excited about this course, and I'm very interested, again, when we get what amounts to be a course bibliography. I'd love to see that as well.
Yeah, I want one of the actual textbooks, Adam. I want to read it from start to finish. So.
Well, and that's the challenge, though, right, Mr. Perry? I mean, like anything that's going to be in a textbook is probably not going to be the kind of source material that we're looking for, because again, it has to be, and no pun intended, but vanilla enough in its in the writing of it, so that way it's something that is not controversial.
But it's also a college-level course, so I think some of that's to be expected, that there are going to be more controversial things in there.
Well, to your point, that's
maybe
my...
not controversial, but more difficult. More difficult subject matter, right?
Yeah, for an adult mind, basically, rather than a child.
Yeah. Well, to that point, I mean, well, and so this is where we kind of get into like the distinctions, right? I mean, it's a course where you can earn college credit, but that's not the same thing as saying that it's a college level course, right? I mean, there's that distinction there, right? Yeah. Because, meaning that like the college level, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm sidetracking, right? And I don't mean to do that. Really, the point I'm just trying to make is that I just hope that like we have source material, like original source material that really drives home poignant lessons that are not tertiary textbook driven, right? And so, and I know that Hudson had some issues with this when they've offered college course because Hudson got her because they offered college courses at the high school level. They weren't AP even; they were actual college courses, and there were issues with the graphic nature, in quotation here, the graphic nature of some things that were taught in a course, right? That parents had signed off on, right? So we're offering an AP African American course that we believe is going to sort of do that deeper dive. I mean, you don't typically need parent permission slips to do an AP African American course. Kids can schedule it, right? So for me, those are some of the things I'm interested in learning more about. And again, I mean, as a student of it myself, I mean, like again, I would love to see the bibliography, once we get that in place. But to that point, I mean, I think to Mr. Perry's point, are we? Is this a course that they have a textbook for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, College Board alerted us to 2 approved textbooks. One is McGraw-Hill, and the other one, it might be Savas, but we will order them.
Yeah.
We'll review both of them, and the teachers will help select which one we want to have ready for our students.
Yeah.
But if I could answer,
Yeah.
you asked a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to answer all of them, Dr. Hall,
Yeah.
but I will tell you this, and I think we would want everybody to know this. We are not going to shy away in our department,
That's what I wanted.
and it's been made clear from our Board of Education and from our previous superintendent and from our current superintendent that we are committed to honest education. And we are going to provide, instead of the history that we've known in the past, we're going to provide histories, plural. And we're going to learn how to do it. We're going to do it better. And the goal is that we are not going to teach our students what to think, but how to think for themselves. And this course is a great opportunity to further that aim. We have the systems in place that we're building. We're not there yet. It's going to take time. But we have the systems and structures in place to support our teachers, to ensure that conversations are done in an affirmative way and not in a way that would do harm to any student, that would be an affirmation of the scholarship, an affirmation of our histories, and actually a sense of pride in our country and community as we learn to make a better community. That's their job. They're going to be taking care of us. So I feel very strong and confident that we have the structures and system that we're moving forward in place to assure that this is a positive support and it meets the board policies. It's aligned with our board policies as well.
Well said, Adam. And like I said, I actually want both textbooks now. So
Okay, we'll get more.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Well said.
We'll ask them politely and kindly, and they'll give us a few extra,
Yep.
There
and I'll
you
make
go.
sure that it's available for you.
Love to see
Good.
it. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
for doing
that.
Carla, unless there's something I'm missing or something else, I think that is kind of a big overview of our efforts right now. I think you've got an update on the big picture. Lots of little things still going on, but we'll be very excited to actually see you again, hopefully in the future, soon, to give you a better handle on our teacher evaluation process for our new curriculum adoption and how these fit the needs and where they fall short, what our plans are to ensure that we're not doing the same thing and having the same conversations with our students now around the experiences that you went through, Dr. Hall.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that was super encouraging was, and Nicole, we talked about this on Saturday, but the process that you've gone through and working with our partners in the AEA, I think Pat was very effusive in her praise in the social studies process. And so just want to say thank you, because you weren't there Saturday, so Nicole was. So I said thank you to her then, but again, I want to thank you for that as well.
Well, yeah, thank you, Dr. Hall. But honestly, and every chance we get, so the teachers on our adoption team this year, this is my third one, and it's absolutely been the hardest. Teachers have had so much on their plate, life, family, job, everything. They've had so much. And on top of that, we asked teachers to evaluate curriculum in a way that they needed new learning in a new way that's never been done before. Mm-hmm. So our teachers deserve a huge amount of praise. And Wilma got to meet some of them on the steering team. They really came through. Our social studies staff really came through in a big way to help support this effort, as it should be. Mm-hmm. You know, we are a family, and that's as it should be. So, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to add that there was a reason why we brought Adam to talk about this work today, and it was related to the work we are trying to do in being more culturally responsive in our district, right? And so Nicole's division and her leadership, Adam is a front runner, right? So this has not been done here to this extent. And so I am excited about the opportunity that this is now modeled for other curriculum specialists, right? And that the process actually started, we were in shutdown. I think we were virtual when you first started pulling teachers together for this series of learning and development that occurred. And it took courage. I don't want to gloss over that. He stepped into this space and was courageous enough to pull it forward, linking arms with others, myself and others, Dr. Glover and now Wilma, to bring this forward, because you have to name what you're doing. Yeah. You can't just say we're teaching African American studies or advanced African American, advanced placement African American history. You have to say we're being culturally relevant, right? Like it has to be named as a thing we are doing. And so the goal would be that everybody has a framework that supports cultural relevance. And not just curriculum, but every division, right? That's my dream goal, right? Every division. And well, you know what? If absolutely, yeah. But it takes this adaptive work, and it starts with that level of self-awareness. That's where it starts, going deep with people, so they understand. What? I'm so thankful for Adam. I'm telling you, I needed what do you call the first person? There's another word.
Guinea pig?
No.
Number one?
Not a front runner, though. Not a front runner. We got to do something different. Because pioneer. Because I'm like front runner. That was that.
We know what
if I called you a front runner when we were kids, that was a problem.
You're a front runner. You can't like do anything when you get behind. Like you're only good when you're
Oh, okay.
Front,
Pioneer.
Yeah, he's pioneer. Yeah, that's a good
But I need
pioneer.
something even stronger than that, right? Like I need a
Visionary. He's a visionary.
Yeah.
visionary,
All those things.
an agitator, right?
Agitator's a good thing.
So accomplice. Yeah. So that's what was necessary. We needed a model, and he stepped into that.
Yeah, great work.
Yeah. And so now everybody's calling. I'm going to be doing this. I want you to come to this meeting because we want to work on our culturally responsive framework. And so that's what we needed. And thank you, Adam. Yeah, good work. Good job.
Thank you for listening and just connecting with this work. I would also wish one other thing to tell you. which is, I have this elevator speech about our 4 priorities and and the goal and vision of social studies. And one of the things I like to share with the teachers, and will continue to share, is we are not doing this just because it's board policy.
You were kind of waiting for the board policy, right?
No, well,
You've been doing it all along, but now you have the board policy to sort of.
that's true, but we're not doing it just because of the board policy. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do.
I was thinking that, yeah. Right thing to do.
And we're going to grow. We're going to get better at it. It's going to take time. Like Carla said, it's not going to be a straight line all the time, but we're committed to it. And I'm telling you, you can count on our social studies teachers in the district to grow, evolve, and make it happen. It will happen.
Yep. And it should happen. Yep.
Mrs. McKittrick, any questions, thoughts, takeaways?
Anybody?
I look forward to presenting at the board meeting. I mean, this is good information, so looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Thank you for all your work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I only have one question. Do you have a sibling?
I do. Alan Motter, who is a lawyer.
Okay, I just wondered, because there's a guy who works for St. Hugh, I think his name's Toivo. I think his last name is Motter.
Toivo and I are not related.
You're not related, okay.
Although we are close friends.
Okay.
Because we've done a lot of stuff together.
Okay.
Toivo is actually Swedish.
Okay.
And his name, Motter, that's actually Swedish.
Okay.
My grandfather got tired of the U.S. Army in World War I calling him Private Matter. Like a lot of other German immigrant people
Oh.
changed the spelling of his name to Motter because that's how they pronounce it. And so the town he's from in Pennsylvania, there's a half of the clan is Matter, and half of the clan is
Yeah.
Motter.
Gotcha. That's real interesting.
Yeah.
That is.
But I do have a brother who's a lawyer, and I thought that's what you were referring to first.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else,
All right.
class dismissed.
Thank you. Awesome.